everybody, my name is Mars, you can call me MG if you would like, and today is February 3rd, and I'm officially starting my binge read of, if I can pick up all the books, the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I'm gonna put this down because it's very heavy. Got some housekeeping to take care of, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. So the Lunar Chronicles, this big stack of books, is a series of sci-fi fairy tale retellings that started publishing. I think the first one came out in 2012, and I did not read these when they first came out. I remember seeing the covers in the library, but I never actually tried them until last year. I read the first two books, which are Cinder, which is obviously a Cinderella retelling, and Scarlet, which is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling. I read these a little under a year ago, I think, and I absolutely loved them. So I have since gotten, let me juggle these books here, I'll put you down and pick these up, the rest of the series, and I've decided I'm going to reread those two and read the rest and vlog it for you guys. So Cress is a Rapunzel retelling. Fairest is, I think, a prequel, but people say to read it between books 3 and 4 because it spoils the first 3 books in the series, but also sets up something big for the 4th book, maybe? I don't know, I haven't read it yet. But it is the origin story for the main villain character, who is the evil stepmother from Snow White. The last book is a Snow White retelling, and I'm so flippin' excited to be reading these. Technically there is another book, but I don't own that one. That is called Stars Above, and it's a short story collection that is like epilogues for the characters, just showing you where they ended up after the series. But I cannot wait to break into this. The Nostalgia Train Book Club is actually reading the first book, Cinder, for the month. It's the official pick, and I am the co-conductor along with Violet for the month. So I'm very excited to be talking these books with everybody at the end of the month. But for now, I have to actually read them, and I was going to listen to, I forgot my words there for a second, sorry. I was going to listen to the audiobooks while reading, because I did not do that when I read the first 2 books last year. But on Everand, which was Scribd, they only have the first 2 books and the prequel novella, and then they don't have books 3 and 4 in the series, and I thought, whatever, that's fine. But I couldn't find them anywhere else either, and I'd rather not listen to them, so I'll just be reading physically, which is perfectly fine. And I'm gonna take you guys along for the ride. If you can't tell, this is the main character Cinder's foot, and she's got like metal and stuff in here because Cinder is a cyborg. I did mention this is sci-fi. I didn't actually tell you what that meant in terms of the story. So this takes place in our world, but years and years and years in the future. There are people living on the moon, and there are cyborgs and androids, and it's just a wild time, and I will probably give you more details about each book as I get to them. But for now, what you need to know is Cinder, our Cinderella character, is a cyborg mechanic, and she has a stepmother and some stepsisters, and she runs into the prince of the empire that she lives in, which is, I want to say it's based off of Hong Kong? Maybe? Does it say it here? Beijing. She lives in New Beijing, and this series kind of takes place all over the world. Like the second book takes place in futuristic France, but I'm just rambling now. I'm so excited to read these books, so I'm going to get started on that so that I can properly update you with coherent sentences. So I will see you guys a little bit later. Hello, friends. It is currently 9:48 p.m. still on the 3rd, and I've been reading in bed, which is why I'm updating you from bed. My hair is a mess. Anyway, I am now about halfway through Cinder. This was a very quick read anyway, but having read it already somewhat recently, because it's been less than a year, I'm definitely going through it faster, and I'm still enjoying it so much. I'm loving the little details. So this is a Cinderella retelling, and there's one part where Cinder is in this junkyard because she's a mechanic and she is collecting little mechanical things for something, and she's with this android Aiko and also Peony, who is one of her stepsisters, and they find this old car that's before everything was made into this futuristic stuff. So it's not like a hover car, it's like an actual car, and it's described as being a very ugly brownish orange color, and they're talking about how it's going to be their escape, and Peony describes it as being a rotten pumpkin. Actually, it might have been Aiko. One of them describes it as being a rotten pumpkin, and I think that's such a cute little allusion to Cinderella's carriage being made out of a pumpkin, and a couple of little things throughout that are like that. It's so fun. Yes, we've made it to the midpoint. This is split up into 4 books. They're just parts, but they're called book 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've read the first 2. I'm probably going to keep reading a little bit more tonight, but not a ton. I just figured I'd hit the halfway point, so it would make sense to update you guys. Probably gonna finish this tomorrow, which is exciting. I love finishing books a little bit because of the little dopamine, serotonin, whatever chemical it sets off in my brain that makes me happy, but also I just love stories, and so getting through a whole story makes me very happy. And this is a really good one. I'm holding it this way now, even though there's nothing on the cover. The book is it looks black, but if you really look at it, I think it might be a very dark navy blue, because that is a color on the cover of the books. The covers are navy blue purplish with red on it. The foiling on the spine is red, so it makes sense. But yeah, maybe it is black, because the end papers look like they're definitely blue, and they're very much not the same color as the cover. The cover still looks kind of blue to me. I don't know. I'm going to get ready for bed, and then probably settle in to read more, and I will update you guys tomorrow when I finish this. Good morning, friends. It is just before 10:30 a.m. on the 4th of February, and I have finished reading Cinder. I actually ended up reading all of book 3 yesterday. Book 3 as in this is split up into 4 parts that are called books. I can actually show you the page. So here it says book 1, and then it has a quote from the original Cinderella. And when I last updated you, I had just gotten through the second of those books / parts. Last night I ended up reading the 3rd one as well, and then I read the last one this morning. I just had a fabulous time with this book. I think I love it just as much as I did last year when I read it for the first time. I would give it a 9 out of 10, because while I do absolutely adore it, there are a few things that I would have liked to see maybe a little bit different, maybe more of, instead of how it played out here. I guess I can get to the spoilery aspect of this review / reading vlog / whatever you want to call it. So if you haven't seen any of my vlogs before, what I do is I will hold up the book, and while I'm holding it up, that will be me talking about spoilers. So during this clip, when I finally put my book down, that will be when I will not be spoiling anymore. So if you don't want to be spoiled for this book, skip ahead to when you see me put this book down. Okay? Last warning, I'm going to get into the spoilers now. Okay, I'm assuming anyone who didn't want to be spoiled is gone. So first we can talk about the original like Cinderella story and the aspects and how they played out in here, because I think they've been done very well. So we need stepmom and stepsisters, which we have. They're more like adoptive family, but they use the term stepmom and stepsisters, but then she also calls the man who her stepmom was married to her stepfather. He like found her as an orphan and then died and entrusted his wife to take care of her. So technically it's more like adoptive, but they call him step, it's fine. We need a fairy godmother, which we don't have in this book, which I think is a brilliant thing, because then it allows Cinder to do a lot of the things herself, like getting ready for the ball and the pumpkin carriage, which in this case is just a really ugly orange car. Like, she fixes it all up herself and drives herself, and I really enjoy that. We need a ball, which we do have, but it's the end of the story. It's not like where that like in the original Cinderella story, I would consider the ball to be the transition between acts 2 and 3, because it leads to the climax of the story where Cinderella is found and they get married and everything. But here it's the end of the story, which I really enjoy. I think that it takes a little bit of the pressure off of that being such a big occasion while still having it be a big occasion in a different way. Speaking of the ball, we have a search for the character in the Cinderella story, which happens after the ball in Cinderella. Here it happens before. We actually have 2 examples of it, because we have the search for Princess Celine that Prince Kai is doing, because the Lunars, who are the people who live on the moon, I don't remember how much of this I've explained to you, but the Lunars are the people who live on the moon, and their queen, Queen Lavanna, is very close to waging war on Earth because she just wants more power and stuff, I don't know. And Celine is her stepdaughter, who is said to have been killed years and years and years ago, but there's a rumor that she actually was sent to Earth, and so Kai, the Prince of the Eastern Commonwealth, which is what Asia became after the Fourth World War, because it's set after the Fourth World War, I think it's like 100-something years after. He's looking for Princess Celine, too many S sounds, I can't get it right, so that they can use her to depose Lavanna and kick her off of the lunar throne. So there's that search, but there's also the search for, so how do I explain this? Because I don't think I've explained any of this. There's a plague going on called leishmaniasis, I think is how it's pronounced, and there's this quarantine area where anyone who's sick goes, and Cinder goes there to visit one of her sisters who gets sick, because she's actually friends with one of her sisters, and I really enjoy that aspect. And she ends up giving some antidote that may or may not work to this boy. Spoiler alert, it does work. And the footage of her, like, there, she, like, attacks some medical androids and, like, runs out. Like, they're searching for the girl in that footage, which no one knows is her because it's very blurry and short and she's seen from behind. So there's actually 2 searches, which I think is really cool and a little bit of a twist on the original tale. And then the last thing I feel like we need for a Cinderella story is the shoe, which we have on the cover, but Cinder does not lose her shoe in this book. She loses her foot, which I think is so funny. She's a cyborg, as I've mentioned, and she gets a new foot, but then that one gets taken away from her, so she has to use her old foot at the end, and it comes loose as she's running away and comes off, and I just think that's a really clever way to tie the original aspects of the story to the world that's been created. Speaking of the world that's been created, though, I think my biggest reasoning for not giving this a 10 out of 10 is that we're told over and over and over again that cyborgs are like second-class citizens, and people, like humans that aren't cyborgs, see them as second-class citizens and not really people at all. And we do see that in ways like how Cinder is treated by her family, how Other people treat her a couple of times. Like, there's an instance at the beginning of the book where the person who owns the shop across the street from Cinder's mechanic, like, treats her bad because of that. There is a cyborg draft going on where cyborgs are volunteered to become test subjects for the plague antidote, which it's really a front for trying to find Princess Celine, really. Anyway, we see those things, but we don't see other cyborgs. There's one scene where there's like a cyborg man mentioned because of the draft, but then he gets sent home because he's not who they're looking for, and then Cinder comes in and the doctor guy is like, right age, she's a female, this might be who we're looking for. So we have a little bit, but I really wish there was more of that, and I wish there was variation in that, because I would love to see people who don't treat cyborgs that way, and I would love to see, like, nuance to that sort of thing, and it's just a little bit of a letdown in that regard. Another thing relating to the cyborgs is at the very end, so this is the biggest spoiler, so Cinder is Princess Celine, if you couldn't guess that. I feel like it's kind of obvious to guess that, but maybe not. But she's been kind of flirting with Prince Kai throughout the book, and at the very end at the ball, he finds out first that she's a Lunar, and he is seemingly able to forgive her for that very quickly, even though opinions on Lunars are that they are all evil and manipulative and, like, awful people. And he's easily able to be like, I don't care. But then he finds out that she's a cyborg, and he's, like, disgusted by that. And I'm like, that seems a little bit much. Like, I feel like I would have liked to see at some point Kai, the prince, like, I don't know, like, how they would go about doing this, but, like, show that he doesn't have that opinion, so that when it's revealed there, he's, like, surprised, but I didn't like the disgust that he had, because I'm assuming that the two of them are, like, endgame as a couple, because that's the fairy tale. But yeah, those are the few things that really irked me about this, and it mostly just regards the cyborg aspect of things. But overall, I really liked this book. My thoughts are kind of jumbled. I, like, just finished reading this, and oh my god, I've been filming for almost 10 minutes. Insane. So I'm putting this down now. Welcome back to the people who skipped over the spoilers. I am not gonna ramble on for any longer because it's been so long. This vlog is going to be so long. I just edited a 40-minute writing vlog a couple of days ago, and now I feel like this one's gonna be even longer. So I'm gonna cut it here, and I will update you when I have an update about Scarlet, which is book 2 in the series, and also a reread for me. And I liked it a little bit less than Cinder last year when I read them for the first time, but I still loved it. So I'm going to start reading that and update you, I guess maybe halfway, like I did for this book. I feel like that was a good pausing point to come back and give you my thoughts. So I will see you guys at that point. Hello friends, it is 5:45 p.m. on the 5th of February, and I have hit the halfway mark of Scarlet. Technically, I'm a little bit past halfway. I've read the first two books in it, first two parts, but according to, like, page count, I'm like 20 or 30 pages past the halfway mark. Anyway, it's time for my update. I'm still having a really good time. I did read this already, like, this is a reread, so I knew I would have a good time, and I also knew that I wouldn't like it as much as Cinder, which is still holding true. We're not getting as much of the sci-fi aspects to it. Okay, well, let me say, this has two, like, plots to it, because we're following Scarlet and we're following Cinder, and we also have a couple of chapters from Kai's POV, but I consider that to be part of Cinder's story. And I'm still really enjoying Cinder's POV. She breaks out of jail with some guy, and they are in a spaceship right now. That's pretty cool. I'm not a huge fan of Scarlet's POV. It just doesn't feel as sci-fi-ish. We see, like, the port screens that I assume are, like, tablets, and she's got a hover car that she uses to deliver produce from the farm she runs with her grandma. That's her job. But, like, she has a gun, like a regular old gun. It's not even, like, a sci-fi gun. And, like, Wolf, the love interest, he's just a street fighter. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of bland. And also, not a fan of the love story in this so far. So with Cinder, it's kind of insta-lovey, but in a forgivable way, because you know it's based on a fairy tale. And at least Cinder and Kai had, like, I want to say, like, 2-ish weeks that they were getting to know each other before the big confrontation where they almost kiss. Whereas here, Scarlet and Wolf literally know each other for a day. And I don't know, it's just such a short time period. Also, she, like, is suspicious of him from the beginning, and she's constantly flipping back and forth on whether or not she can trust him. And, like, I get that. That's fair. But it's just so annoying. This is a little bit of a spoiler, so, like, skip ahead if you don't want to know. But the part that I just read, the last couple of chapters, she learns stuff from him about her grandmother that he, like, knew because he was part of the organization that kidnapped her. I don't know if I explained this, but, like, it's Little Red Riding Hood, so it's the Little Red Riding Hood character going to find her grandmother. So Scarlet's grandmother has been kidnapped, and she's trying to rescue her, and she finds out that Wolf not only was part of the organization that has her, but was, like, a high-ranking guy, and also was on the mission to, like, do the actual kidnapping. Like, he was on that specific task. And then literally 20 minutes later, they're making out. Like, I'm sorry, what? That just seems so unrealistic. She literally shoots him with her gun. It only, like, grazes him. But, like, how could you do that and then be making out with him 20 minutes later? I don't know, man. It's just, I'm liking the story. I don't like the characters as much as I like Cinder. I think that's the biggest issue. And, like, I don't know. I feel like it's only going to get more complicated as we go on, because I'm assuming in Cress's book we get Cress's POV, and then in Winter's book we get Winter's POV. And I know that, like, is going to be more combined when people come together. And, like, this first half of the book is very split because Cinder and Scarlet are not together, but they do meet up. I don't actually remember when, but, like, they meet up at some point in the book. I think it's quite late, though, from what I remember. So, like, it's just weird. I'm still having a good time, but I think, as of right now, this is, like, a 7 out of 10. So, like, it's good, but it's not great, which is sad, because I love the first book so much. But, yeah, that's my midpoint check-in. I will see you guys again whenever I finish this book. Hello, friends. It is currently 10:15 p.m. on February 6th, and I should be getting ready for bed, but I stayed up just a little bit later than usual so that I could finish reading Scarlet, and this was okay. I'm not gonna do any spoilers for this one because I feel like my thoughts at my midpoint check-in are pretty much the same as they are now. Like, nothing's really changed. I did enjoy this book. This was a good book. I would give this, I'd say, like, a 7 out of 10. I'm just a little bit disappointed coming off of Cinder and going into this, because while it's a fine book on its own, Cinder was just so much better in my opinion. Of course, this is just my opinion. You are free to disagree with me. And I just, like, the characters, the romance, the plot, the sci-fi elements, the setting, I feel like all of that was just done better in Cinder, or not even just better, just, like, more to my taste in Cinder. And so going to this one, I'm just kind of like, it's alright, it's good, I didn't dislike it. This one statement is a little bit spoilery, but not, like, details. So I explained how there's 2 different storylines we're following. We're following Scarlet and we're following Cinder, and then they come together. This book is 450 pages long, and they don't come together until about page, like, 380. So, like, so much of this is the 2 splits like split plots, and then only the last little bit is them together, and I feel like I would have liked a little more of them together. I feel like that would make this improved. I already can tell how they're going to lead into Cress, because we actually did meet Cress in book 1, sort of. I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm not going to say it, but we did get like one little glimpse into Cress in book 1, and then at the very end of this, the last chapter is from Cinder's POV, which I understand why from a storytelling perspective, but the fact that this is Scarlet's book, I feel like it would have made more sense thematically for Scarlet to get the last chapter. But it's Cinder's chapter, and she's like, I'm gonna find this person from the first book, and that person is Cress. So I'm excited to get into that. I'm a little bit worried because of how this worked with the split POVs, and then we're adding a third main character in Cress. But now that Cinder and Scarlet are together, I guess it's still just 2, so these ones, and then Cress is gonna be 1, and then in winter we're gonna add a 4th one, but I'm not there yet. I am going to stop rambling and go to bed so that I can pick up Cress tomorrow and hopefully make some good progress. I'm having a blast reading this series. I'm so sad that I didn't read these when I was younger, because the first book came out in 2012, so I was 13 or 14. I turned 14 in September of that year, and I feel like I would have eaten these up. I mean, I am kind of now, but I feel like back then this would have been a 10 out of 10 perfect series to me, at least so far. But I'm still really, really enjoying this even as an adult, so I am very excited to pick up Cress tomorrow. Yes, it's gonna be like top of my to-do list is to start that book, so I will see you guys in a little while. Hello friends, it is currently 9:22 p.m. on the 8th. I did check the date again. I am nestled up in my chair reading The Chaos Queens Are Streaming, and I figured during the sprints, why did I say that as if I'm not one of the Chaos Queens? We're streaming right now, and I figured during the sprints I could get some reading done, so I have hit the halfway mark of Cress, which means you guys get your update from me. Remember when I said at the end of my Scarlet portion of the vlog that it was weird because Scarlet and Cinder were separate for so long, and it was only in like the last few chapters that they got together? This is different. So within the first like 3 chapters, there's a plan put into place for everyone to get together, because Cress is introduced in the first book in Cinder. We don't know that she's Cress, but like we see her, and there's a plan to come together, and that plan is almost immediately ruined, and everyone is split now into 3 different spots. So we have Scarlet is off on her own, and I'm trying not to give spoilers, so Scarlet's off on her own. Cinder is with Wolf, who is Scarlet's love interest, and then Cress is with Thorn, who is this guy that Cinder escaped prison with in book 2. And you know, he was introduced in Scarlet. I'm like, dear God, please don't let this man be a love interest for one of our 2 later heroines, because like these are fairy tale retellings. You know they're gonna have love interests because that's part of the original fairy tales. Thorn is in fact Cress's love interest, at least for now. I don't see them introducing a new one, but like maybe, but I don't think they will. I don't know if they're gonna end up together though, but he's definitely the love interest. But he's just kind of like a skeevy man. Also, he's like 19 or 20. No, he's definitely at least 20, because they said he dropped out of the military at age 18, and then the next time he like showed up in whatever was 18 months later. So he's like No, when he was 19. Yeah, he's somewhere between 20 and 21, and yes, I did that math right. Somewhere between 20 and 21 for sure, and then Cress is only 16, so that's like, but, yeah, he's, like, kind of the love interest, but also not, I don't know, but yeah, they're together and doing stuff, and they're in Africa now, which is pretty fun, because we started off in the Eastern Commonwealth in Beijing for Cinder, and then in Scarlet they were mostly in France, and now we've got Africa, but we're also seeing some of Lunar, Luna, which is where the Lunars are from, which is why it's called Lunar Chronicles. I'm clearly frazzled right now. I kind of just want to get back to reading. Evidently, I don't remember as much of the Rapunzel fairy tale as I thought I did, because, like with the others, this is split into 4 books, and they have little quotes at the beginning. So for book 1, it says, "When she was just a child, the witch locked her away in a tower that had neither doors nor stairs." I remember that happening. And then, where did part 2 start? Give me a moment. Part 2 said, "The witch snipped off her golden hair and cast her out into a great desert." Did that happen? Or is that just to, like, tie into what's happening in this book? Because I don't remember a desert in Rapunzel or the witch cutting Rapunzel's hair. And then part 3, which I haven't started yet, but right there, it says, "The cat has caught the bird and she will scratch your eyes as well. You will never see your Rapunzel again." I don't know what's going on in that quote. No idea. And then I don't know what part 4's quote is because I haven't gotten that far yet, but that's where I'm at. I'm excited to keep reading. And I will see you at the end of the book, I guess. Oh, no. I lied. I have one more update. So I googled Cress to see what that meant because, like, Cinder is short for Cinderella. Scarlet is a synonym for red because she's Red Riding Hood. Winter, obviously Snow White. Cress is the name of a type of cabbage, which is so good. And, like, in this book, her full name is actually Crescent because she's a lunar crescent moon. It's apparently a very common name on Luna, but she goes by Cress, which is the name of a cabbage, which is so funny because that's what Rapunzel is, if you didn't know. In the original fairy tale, the reason why Rapunzel is, like, kidnapped and put in that tower is because when her mother was pregnant with her, she had a craving for this cabbage in the witch's garden and sent her husband to go get it, and he was caught, and the witch is like, "I'm gonna kidnap your baby." And, yeah, so her name is Rapunzel, named after that type of cabbage that the mother was craving when she was pregnant, and I think it's so funny that that's part of the original fairy tale that Marissa Meyer kept, is the fact that Rapunzel is named after cabbage, and now Cress is also named after cabbage. That's so funny. But yeah, now I'm done with all of my midway updates. I will see you when I finish this book. Hello, friends. It is now 9:09 p.m., still on the 8th. I have finished reading Cress by Marissa Meyer. Listen, I know that I hit halfway earlier today. When I tell you that the second half of this book is so insanely good, like, it is so good. I would say the second half isn't better than Cinder, but it's 100% on par with Cinder. So I guess this book gets an 8, because the first half, I would say, is pretty on par with Scarlet, which I gave a 7, and the second half is on par with Cinder, which I gave a 9, so an 8. So good. I almost cried. I 100% did swoon. There were a couple of almost swoon-worthy moments between Cress and her love interest, but the part that did get me to swoon was between Cinder and her love interest. Oh, it's so good, and it made me cry. I don't want to spoil anything, but, like, I got so emotional. This book, you guys, wild. It really, really was a slow burn in the beginning. The beginning part was like, okay, I'm here for it. And then we hit the halfway point and went on from there. And I was just like, I have to keep reading, which is how I finished it today. So, yeah. Oh, man. Completely unexpected. I I'm just in shock. Technically, I finished it like 10 minutes before I started filming this clip, but I put it, like, I finished it, I closed it, I went over to my boyfriend, and I rambled, like, directly at him for, like, 10 straight minutes. He probably did not take in a single word I said, but I just had to talk about it. Oh boy, I really, really, really want to start Winter. But first, I have to read Fairest, which is the prequel novella that follows Queen Lavanna, who is the main bad guy in the series. She's the primary antagonist, and it's said, like, the reading order puts it after book 3, even though it's a prequel, because apparently it spoils, like, the backstory of the first 3 books, which makes sense because, like, stuff that I know because I read it, which you guys probably also know at this point, because it's kind of easy to guess, but also I've been talking to you guys about it. It, like, spoils that stuff, but also it, like, sets up her motivations and stuff in a much clearer way going into book 4, the finale of the series. Oh my goodness. So I have to read Fairest, but also, I don't know why I'm still holding this. Um, I didn't do any writing today, even though I had quite a bit on my to-do list because I just had to keep reading. I'm like, you know what? Today's a reading day. Today is a day just for reading. So that's pretty much all that I did. So tomorrow I am not letting myself read until I start my writing or get a good chunk of my writing in. I have to do some brainstorming for one project and editing for another. I'm not setting, like, quantifiable goals in either. I'm just going to try and get a good chunk done because I didn't do either of those things today. And then I will let myself pick up Fairest, which I should have picked up to show you guys. It's quite short. I think it's only about 200 or so pages based on what it looks like. Probably gonna be able to read that in one day. Might be tomorrow. I might not read it until, what's the day after tomorrow? Saturday? Depending on my writing and other things that I'm doing tomorrow. I really want to pick it up so badly. But, yeah, I'm not going to give you a midpoint check-in because it is so short, so I'm just going to update you at the end of Fairest. And then I get to read Winter. Oh, I want so badly to have Stars Above. Like, you have no idea how sad I am that I can't read that at the same time as reading these, like, put it in the same binge. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll, like, visit a free little library and it'll be there and I'll get to tag it on. Who knows? That's almost 100% definitely not gonna happen, but a girl can dream. A non-binary girl can dream. Oh my god, my brain is kind of fried because I've been reading for like 7 hours straight. I don't regret it one bit. It was a brilliant time. I did pause for dinner. I did take a break so I could eat some pasta. But, like, I need to chill. So I am going to stop rambling here and I will see you guys on the other side of reading Fairest, whenever that may happen. Hello friends, it is 6:30 p.m. on the 9th and I have finished Fairest. I did do my writing this morning and then I spent all afternoon, like, on and off reading. I didn't read it all in one go. It's only 220 pages. It's not this whole thing. It ends here. And then this last bit is the first few chapters of Winter. But yeah, very short. It was okay. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I don't think it spoils the first 3 books. Like, I'm pretty sure you could read this before the rest of the series and not be spoiled for it. Maybe it would spoil Cinder a little bit, but not Scarlet or Cress, I don't think. It more, like, has Easter eggs where if you've already read those and you get to those points here, you're like, oh, I know what that's referencing. rather than like actual spoilers for those books, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm gonna spoil this one for you because I've got some thoughts. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Fairest, then skip ahead until I put the book down, but while I'm holding it up, I will be spoiling. So assuming anyone who does not want to be spoiled is gone. I did not like the backstory for this because I kind of felt that it was like kind of lazy and like, I don't know. So the Lunars have this ability to like infiltrate people's minds, and really strong Lunars can like make other people do things that they don't want to do, mind control kind of stuff. So you're not supposed to do this to babies and like toddlers because it affects the way their brain develops. And Lavanna, who is the queen in this series, she's the main antagonist. Her older sister used her powers on. Her older sister was Shannery, and she used her powers on Lavanna when Lavanna was growing up, and it like insinuates that it affected her mental development, so she's like mentally disabled, kind of. And then there's a scene where she like angered her sister when they were children, and so her sister burned her very badly to the point of disfigurement. Like her eye is completely useless and like burned shut. She's covered in scars down the whole side of her, and like all down her arm into her hand and down her ribs and everything. So she's also physically disabled in that way. And like this series, I'm not worried about having a disabled villain in terms of like representation, because there are several other disabled characters. Like Cinder is a disabled protagonist, and she's like the main protagonist of the entire series. Like all four of the girls and a couple other people I would consider protagonists, but Cinder is like the number one main character, and she's disabled. And we have a couple of other people throughout the series that we meet that have disabilities, and I don't dislike the backstory for that because I'm fine with there being disabled villains when there's other disability rep in the story. That's not a problem. But it just feels like I wish there was something more to it, because it just feels like her entire motivations are the fact that she grew up with an abusive sister and her brain didn't develop right, so she has like this weird perception of what love is, and that's her whole motivations. And I'm like, I guess, I don't know. She's just kind of weirdly obsessive about things, and it's uninspired, I guess. Like it doesn't really do anything new with the character of the evil queen. Like she's still obsessed with her looks because she is disfigured, and she just I don't know. I'm just like I'm a little bit disappointed in this, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because I just feel like this could have been more. Like something more could have been done with her backstory to make it more interesting, more unique, and it just didn't happen. And so while I didn't dislike this book, I just didn't really love it. I would maybe give this a 7. I don't want to rank it lower than that because I didn't like there aren't things in this that I had problems with. It's the fact that there wasn't more in it that it's weird. I don't know if I'm explaining my thoughts very well, but yeah, it was just a fine book. And I'm gonna put it down now because I'm done with the spoilers. So, welcome back to the non-spoiler people. Overall, my thoughts are this was alright. I didn't particularly love it, but I also didn't really dislike it, so it was okay. Now though, I get to move on to winter, and I cannot wait. I don't know how long it is. It looked on the shelf to be about the same size as Cress, which was 550 pages, so I would put it in the 500 something page range. I'm very excited to read it. I'm definitely finishing it this weekend because today is Friday, and I've been reading the other ones like over the course of about 2 days each, so if it's gonna hook me the way that, especially that second half of Cress had me hooked, like, I'm gonna be finishing this so quick, and I cannot wait. to be reading it. So I will see you guys for the midpoint update. I will do that for you, and yeah, I'll see you guys then. I don't know why I felt like I had something else to say. I didn't. I'll see you guys once I get into winter. Okay, quick update here next to my bookshelf. I just looked at the page count for winter and it's over 800 pages, so I don't know why it looks the same length as Cress, but it's quite long, so I don't know if I'll be able to finish it in the next couple days, but it doesn't matter. We'll see how long it takes me. Another thing I noticed is that the little epigraph, I think that's what it's called, at the beginning of book 1, because like all of the others, this one is split into 4 parts that are called books. The quote is changed, so that's a little bit interesting. I don't know why it's different in the preview of, like at the end of Fairest, the quote is something about like the whole like red as blood, white as snow, black as night thing from Snow White, but the epigraph for book 1 in the actual book of winter is something just about being as fair as the day. Interesting, but yeah, that's it. Just a little bit of an update. I will actually see you guys once I start reading now. Hello, friends. It is about 5 p.m. on February 11th, and I am not quite halfway through winter. That's the name of the book. Turns out this book is split into 5 parts instead of 4, so I finished the first 2, and now I'm giving you my update. Chloe is in here napping with me, so she might make an appearance in the vlog, but yeah, updates on the book. I'm really enjoying it. This thing is thick. She's got so many like plot threads going on, and I'm loving it. I know some people think that the plot is kind of meandering and there's like too much going on, but I don't agree with that. I think it's really fun and the different plot threads are all interesting. There she is. Hello, baby. You come to say hello to the people? What I'm really loving the most in this first section is the romances, because there's been quite a bit of development in pretty much all of them. So we know that Cinder and Kai are my favorite couple, and I'm still really enjoying them, but the others have all like really been shining as well. So first off, we have Winter, and Justine is her love interest. I don't know if you can hear her purring, but she is purring up a storm. So they have this whole childhood friends thing going on. They've also got the bodyguard and princess dynamic, and also in the context of Snow White, because this is a retelling of Snow White, he's also the huntsman. Chloe, why are you rubbing your head on my nightstand? That's so weird. Anyway, I'm loving that. They're so cute together. They're so fun. Ma'am, I'm petting you. Relax. And we also have Thorn and Cress, who I'm starting to really enjoy. I know last book I was not loving their dynamic, but it's really grown on me. I feel like in the last book they didn't actually have much of a romance. Ooh, she is stepping on my ribs. Girl, what? I'm trying to update my vlog, please. So it was more, she was infatuated with this like idealized version of Thorn, and Thorn was like, I'm not that guy, like you do not want to fall in love with me. But in talking to her about it, he realized that he doesn't really like this version of him that he is, and he also started to fall for her, but like he thinks that she deserves better, so now he's trying to be better, not just for her, but for himself, and that's a dynamic I really love. I'm also starting to really enjoy Scarlet and Wolf. So they were separated for pretty much all of book 3, and now they're together again, and like, it's still not my favorite dynamic, but I think they're really cute together. You are just so snuggly right now. I'm gonna put this down. I don't know why I'm holding it up. Yeah, all the romances are so cute, and I can't wait to keep reading. I can't say for certain because I haven't gotten past the 40% mark in this book, but I feel like the whole retellings thing is getting looser and looser with each book. Like, book 1 is 100% a Cinderella retelling. Book 2, it's a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, but it's, like, got quite a bit of dynamic change. Girl, please. Book 3, maybe I just don't know Rapunzel very well, but like it felt more like the backstory of Cress was the part that was a retelling, and then she's just a character in this new story. And it feels like that's a lot for Winter too. Less than Cress, because there is the whole like huntsman being sent to kill her and faking her death thing, and that is definitely a part in the original fairy tale. But it just, I don't know how much of the original fairy tale they're going to stick to for the rest. Is she going to be somehow put to sleep and saved by true love's kiss? We'll have to see. I really like Winter. She's such a great character. She suffers from hallucinations because she is a lunar and she doesn't use her magic powers. And so, because she doesn't use them, it affects her own mind. And so she has these hallucinations of, like, blood dripping down the castle walls and, like, things coming around her body and, like, strangling her. And it's terrifying, but I think it's done pretty well. I don't have hallucinations, so I can't speak from personal experience, but I like the way it's portrayed in this book. She's so funny and kind and smart, and like she makes her own jokes about her health issues, which I think is always a funny thing to have. But yeah, I'm enjoying this so far, and I have like 480 pages to go, which like that's so many, but also I'm really enjoying it. I'm not going to finish it today like I had planned originally, so maybe tomorrow, if not, then definitely Tuesday. So I'm going to cut this here because Miss Ma'am clearly wants more attention than I am giving her. But I will see you guys maybe before I read part 5 in this book. I might do it where I read the next 2 parts and then update you, and then, ma'am, you are so close to my phone, you're going to knock it over while I'm filming. Okay, you're going on the floor for now. I will update you a little bit later when I've done more reading. So, yeah, I'll see you guys then. Chloe's got me so frazzled. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Friends, I'm trying to use my head to block the giant glare coming through the window. It is currently 3:45 p.m. on the 12th, Monday? Yeah, that sounds about right. I haven't finished, there's that glare. I have not finished Winter yet, but I'm so close. Look at this. Look at that. I have like, I think 167 pages left, if I did the math correctly. But I finished parts 3 and 4, so I figured, you know what, I'm going to update you. I'm having such a fantastic time. This book is so good. First of all, we'll talk about Rapunzel, talk about Cress for a second, because I remember saying, like, I don't remember any of this stuff happening in the original fairy tale. I just didn't know the original fairy tale very well. I googled it earlier today and read through, and I was realizing, like, oh, these are the parallels drawn between the fairy tale and what happened in the book. And there's like some clever little like references. So Rapunzel in the original fairy tale is named after the cabbage that her mother was craving, but there's also a flower in the fairy tale called a rampion, is how I would pronounce it, Rampion, and that's the classification of ship that Thorn drives. Thorn also is a reference because in the original fairy tale, when the prince is thrown out of the tower by, what's her name? The evil lady? The villain in Rapunzel? I don't remember. He lands in some thorn bushes, and that's what makes him blind. That doesn't happen here. He does go blind, but he gets magical eye drops, which are the, like, reference to in Rapunzel. It's Rapunzel's tears that help him get his vision back. So, like, very clever little details there, and it's so fun. Yeah, this book, things are ramping up. We only have one part left. The rebellion against Queen Lavanna is in full swing. I do see why a lot of people think this is a little bit too much. Like, there are definitely places where things could be scaled back, and a couple of, like, little mini moments that could have been cut and made this a more streamlined novel and not one that's over 800 pages long. But at the same time, like, I'm having so much fun with it. I don't really mind that some stuff is just in there for fun and not to, like, further the storyline. Like, yeah, okay, characters are running into problems. That happens. Like, yeah, they could have had less problems to make it a shorter, more streamlined book, but I don't care. I'm enjoying seeing what happens to them and how they deal with it. There is a lot of splitting up and rejoining and splitting up and joining in other ways that is kind of a mess because there are so many main characters. Like, there's 4 books that each have 4 main couples. Well, there are 4 main couples, 1 from each book. That's what I meant to say. Plus there's Aiko, who is also a main character. So we have 9 main characters who all have different, like, skill sets and things, and just the number of times people think the other people are dead because they've split up and have no way of, like, communicating, and then they meet up with other people who are like, oh yeah, I saw this person, they're not actually dead. Like, it's just a lot. It's so much, but it's also, like, kind of really funny. It kind of reminds me of a Scooby-Doo episode when they, like, go through the doors and everything. It's really fun. We did have Snow White in the glass coffin moment, and it only lasted, like, a couple of hours before she was rescued. So, like, that's a little bit silly, but also we gotta get things going on this book and the story. She cannot stay in there for so long, but now I only have the 1 part left. I'm so close to finishing it, and I'm going to finish it tonight. I'm going to. My cat is trying to break down this door, so I'm going to end this clip now, and I will see you guys when I finish reading this book and this series. Alright, friends, we are here in the awful 8 p.m. lighting that is my office. And it's been made worse by the fact that the light bulb directly ahead of me, or directly above me, is perfectly fine, but the light bulb to the side has almost completely burnt out, so I feel like there's this weird shadow coming in. I don't know. Also, ignore the outfit change. I have changed to my pajamas because, like I said, it's 8 p.m. and I start getting ready for bed at like 6:30. We're here because I finished winter. Oh my god, this was so good. It's not quite a 10 out of 10. I feel like there are some places where things could have been, like, slimmed down a bit. There was a lot going on, which I don't dislike, but I feel like some of the stuff could have been cut and made this not 800 pages. Like, if this was like a 600 something page novel, perfect. I'll even take like a solid 700. It would have been great, would have been 10 out of 10, but there was just a little too many issues for our characters to deal with, too many dead ends, too many, we have this plan, but here's why it's not gonna work. Just a little bit too much of that. So for that reason, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10, but like, I still adored this book. It's my favorite in the series. I will confidently say that. I still adore Cinder. Cinder got a 9 out of 10 as well. But like this, seeing all of the characters that I've come to know and love. Oh, I did not mean to hold the book in the same way this hand is holding the apple. I don't like that. Let's put it over here so I'm not doing that. Yeah, Cinder is so good as the start of a series, and this is so good as the end of a series, and it was just so satisfying. It didn't end quite the way I thought it would, which I'm kind of actually glad about. I feel like the way it did end is a lot better than what I thought was going to happen. And we just have happy ever afters all around, and I'm so happy for them. These characters are so good, and like, I wish I had Stars Above so bad. The short story collection that acts as like an epilogue to the series. I want to read that so bad, but I could not find an ebook copy anywhere for like cheap. I would have paid like a couple of dollars, but not a lot. Also, I probably wouldn't have paid a couple of dollars because I should not be spending money right now. I couldn't find a copy. That's the gist of it. But I really, really want to read it because I need to know what happens to everyone afterwards. I care about them all so much, and it's so cute. And the ending scene mirrors the opening scene from Cinder, which is something I love. I love when narratives circle back to the beginning. So minor spoiler alert. In the beginning of Cinder, she is fixing her foot because she's a cyborg, and it like it's a foot that she's had since she was 11, so like 5 years, and it's obviously too small for her, but her stepmother, her guardian, whoever, whatever you want to call her, like won't pay for her to get a new foot, and so she's had to save up her own money, and she's finally able to replace this foot that has, I can actually read it for you. It's like very symbolic because at the end she like throws it into a pond of water, like finally able to get rid of this because this foot has kind of been following her around for the whole series and showing up in unexpected ways. It's kind of hilarious, but it says she spun the cumbersome, hateful foot in her fingers. Ever since she could remember, it had been a burden, a constant reminder that she was worthless, she was unimportant, that she was nothing but a cyborg. Like, she finally lets all of that go, and it's so good. I very nearly cried. I think my biggest complaint of the series is that, like, this book is called Winter, and I understand why we end with Cinder. Cinder is the main character, but, like, it just feels a little bit weird that the name of the book is Winter, and she's not really the main character. I feel like for Scarlet is definitely on par with Cinder in that book. Like, they're very even in terms of being the main character. And then with Cress, less so. And then Winter, I feel like she's just a strong support character. Like, she's important, but I don't feel like she really reaches main character status. I would consider her a main character because she's the title character, but in terms of just, like, the story and the plot, she's not as important as Cinder, really, which is fine. I get that, but like, I don't know, that just kind of bugs me a tiny little bit, but it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I want to keep rambling because I don't want the series to be over. It was just so good, and I'm so glad that I read it. I'm definitely going to be putting these on my favorite author shelf, so that's gonna be fun. It's gonna be right when I walk into my office. That's the shelf that faces the door, not the one behind me. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing that as soon as I end this clip. But with that, I guess this is the end of the vlog. I have no idea how long this is going to be. Ooh, I'm gonna have to edit this bad boy and it's gonna take me eons because my computer is so slow. But I've had a fantastic time reading this series, and I hope you've had a good time following me throughout this vlog. Let me know in the comments if you've read these books and how you feel about them, or if you haven't read them, if you've skipped through my my spoilery bits in order to have an unspoilered time watching this vlog because you want to want to read the books yourself. Also, let me know that because I will 100% encourage you to do so. This was just such a good series. But I am finally done rambling. So I will, what's my outro? If you've enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. There we go, that's it. And subscribe for more content. That way I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.